I've known the folks at German speaker designer D&B since I began using their speaker systems in the early 2000s. Soundscape is D&B's object-based mixing and room emulation toolkit, known respectively as On-Scene and On-Space. Together, Soundscape and D&B's speaker systems allow the design and installation of interactive surround environments. I was invited to try out Soundscape at their Singapore office. Here is my short report on my day transforming one of my tracks, Calor, currently at draft studio mix stage, into a soundscape mix for live concert situations. Now, realizing a soundscape project is similar to that of mixing in Dolby Atmos, except for a few crucial things. Atmos is used to mix down songs and film soundtracks in surround. It employs a 7.1.4 speaker layout utilizing bits and objects to form the surround matrix. Once assigned, the locations and trajectories are coded via metadata. To replicate the pre-programmed sonic experience in a movie theater or in a home theater, the metadata will stretch or shrink to fit the placements of the speakers. Soundscape, however, is configured for surround objects that have characters that are live and dynamic, such as actors in a musical, musicians on stage. On the most basic level, the technology aims to reconcile the characters with how you discern where the voices are coming from. The benefit of the 360 matrix is how it truly reflects the positions of each character in the mix, and each character can also be clearly heard without unnecessary demasking, such as the situation in a single plane stereo or mono mix. Finally, any movements can be pre-programmed or manipulated in real time. I continue to be curious as to how to make this a creative outlet rather than its more utilitarian function. In Atmos, you work with XYZ axis, mixing from the audience's perspective. In Soundscape, you work with only X and Z, but referred to as X and Y as you're working the area from above the audience. Working with X and Y levels only might seem to limit the 3D experience, but there are tricks to making the ears perceive height differences, which I shall talk about in a future video. On-Scene provides 64 objects that can be tethered to 64 moving characters. This number is completely unrelated to the number of speakers you may employ, the number being to your heart's desire. Now for a summary of the actual work. Calor, my composition with a Spanish flavor, dancing on a time signature of 7/4 and featuring the theremin, was an ideal piece to experiment with. Calor's static instruments were the drums, bass, and the lead instrument, in this case, the theremin. Its dynamic ones came in the form of sound effects, synthesized sounds, affected guitars, and the theremin, and finger snaps. A soundscape takes OSC automation instructions from any DAW. We used Reaper in this situation with the Dante virtual sound card that assumes the role of a 64-channel audio interface. Reaper is on the left screen with the plugin labeled D&B, and the R1 component of On-Scene is on the right screen, running off the same computer. The sound assets and the automation signals are then sent to the DS100 sound engine for the seamless tie-up. In Reaper, each instrument was assigned a plugin object output channel that would correspond with the circular buttons in the R1 window. Remember, we are sending movement data, not sonic data. We tried a few movement patterns that Royston had programmed. These included an orbit, ping pong, random, and LFO-generated trajectories. And these movements worked continuously throughout the song in this exercise. You've been listening to the playback of Calor in all its pre-release glory as captured on my iPhone, so you may or may not be able to discern the movements. For the next exercise at DNB, I'd like to code automation within my recording project in Logic Pro. This promises to allow me to work from home, then bring the finished project to the DNB office for the tie-up with Soundscape, the DS100, and auditioned through their 360 system. There are a few other tests I'd like to try, so stay tuned to Music and Chat for follow-up videos. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.